kill the system. The system's built to do this, and I'm, as an entrepreneur, I'm live outside the box all the time. If you live outside the system and you're thinking people first, problems second, my mission in the painting world is to help fix your problem. So if a person comes to me and they have a problem, and I help serve them the best I can, then that they're going to come back.
Welcome back to another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. My name is Chris Kiefer, and today I am here with Jason Humrichous, who is the co-owner of Heritage Painting in Tipton, Indiana. And this is just another one of those examples of I love what the internet and social media does in this regard, which is helps me connect with people that I would have no way of ever meeting other than through how this came about. But before we get into that, first of all, I just want to say, Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and chat today. We got to know each other a little bit before hitting the record button. But yeah, I'm excited for what lies ahead in this discussion.
Chris, I'm excited for you to fix all my problems.
We'll see about that.
Thanks.
Yeah. I saw Jason post a Facebook post in a painting group that we're in about the book Who Not How. And for those of you that know me, know that my wife and I have been on a journey of the Who Not How, like, philosophy in our own lives personally. Basically for the last 2-ish years, whenever that, I don't remember what year that book came out, but that's when I came across it. And then there's another book that coincides very well with this, which I don't know if you have read.
I have not.
Jason, called Buy Back Your Time.
Oh, I have that book, but I've not read that one completely.
Yeah, so that one, if you like
Yeah.
Who Not How, Buy Back Your Time is going to be like, in my opinion, Who Not How, how is, that's the one. Who Not How is like it's theory. It's great, like, resources and ways of thinking about it. Buy Back Your Time is like literally step 1, go hire an assistant, tell them to manage your calendar and email. Step 2, like it's like, and then not only that, but like when you have an assistant, this is how they should be responding to emails. It's like so tactical, but they both fit very, very like well together. But that was what I saw you post about. And I was like, I would talk to anybody about Who Not How, because I recommend that book to so many people, because it really is like, at least from my perspective, I believe that we've all been given gifts and talents from God to use in the world, and we should find our zone of genius. And as much as possible, live in that zone of genius, and then delegate everything else that is not who we are to the other who's that make sense. And so that's the context for why we're here today. We also found out that we're both basketball fans. So let's get into it. Do you have any questions before we start out?
No, I don't. I'm so glad you said that, because I have the book and I've started it, and I think this series of time where I started it, it wasn't great to finish it, so I just need to dig into it. I also think, now that you've said those things, obviously Atomic Habits is really great for some of those principles, and so that would be one I would add to that. I did read that one last year at the beginning of the year, and in regards to that, I'll just add to that real quick. 2 years ago, I did 75 hard, the little thing with my son. Joe, he reaches out to me and says, "Hey, you want to do 75 hard?" And in order to complete 75 hard, I created on my phone 5 simple reminders. So those of you that don't know what 75 hard is, you have to complete 5 simple disciplines every day, right? And so in order to, if you miss one of the disciplines, you have to start over day 1. So you're doing 75 days, boom, 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 boom. And so I didn't want to miss any, because I didn't want to start over. So, and as simple as like taking a picture of yourself, to see, and, all those things. So I put it on as a reminder, and what that did, and I'm a very routine person. Like, I don't honestly hate going on vacation, because it throws me out of my routine. So I like, I get up at 5, I get in the gym, I'm reading my Bible at 6. I'm doing this routine, and then so on and so forth. But so as I thought about 2025 and or not habits, but goals, I literally put into my routine activities that I want to do. And so, like, for instance, I want to maintain a certain weight. And so, well, I'm not going to diet. I just need to eat the right amount of calories. I still need to exercise so I can be moving at the age of 53 well, or 83, or whatever God allows me to have. But then I can also, so I drink 16 ounces of water every day, and I have them on my calendar. So at 9 a.m., 5 a.m. I start, 5:31. So anyhow, that's not the point of today, but that's part of, I think, the process of buying back your time, having atomic habits, handing off the things that need to be done. It's just about planned, and that's my word for 2025 is planned. I'm very much a shoot from the hip kind of personality, but I've had to learn to be more planned. And so I think I think part of the goal of today is to talk a little bit about that. If I can start talking about why, not why, but when I started hearing about who, not how, and ultimately it was from my dad, who's a pastor. And he said to me years ago, I mean, as a kid, Jason, you got to get people that are smarter than you around you. And you got to build a team. He's very much a team builder. He's a shepherd in many ways, really loves to care for people. And at the age of almost 79, he is incredible at just caring for people. He's a visionary. And so he builds into people, speaks life into them. And so I think that's part of that piece is, as you work around people, is just loving on them and taking care of them. But when you do that, at the end of the day, it comes back, I think, tenfold or whatever. But he's putting yourself around, being the dumbest guy in the room at some level, and then helping those people become the who. So that's where it started for me, and now for me trying to execute it in the business world, and because when we start our business, I don't know about you with Bullion, but when I started, in the business, you kind of have this dream of financial freedom, time freedom, but then we find out really quick, I'm doing everything. And so how do you get away from that treadmill of everything? And so that's the process. And I love what you said just a minute ago. It's finding your space that you're good at. So, and I'll just say this, so I started Heritage in 2009 after the economy was kind of tanking, and I had left an employment, and I had painted in high school, middle school. I had a little painting company from 02 to 05, and then 05 to 09 I worked for a custom home builder as a project manager. And in 09 I had a mutual permanent layoff, and so I'm sitting at home like, what am I going to do? I said, I'm not going to be unemployed. I might as well be self-employed. So I just got out and started getting after it, right? So here I am back on the job site in 09, and painting, selling, doing all the things, right? One man crew, me and one guy. And so did that in 09 and slowly started growing as the economy began to be recovered, 10, 11, 12. Then you begin to have space and you begin to dream like every painter does, like, hey, I can have 2 crews, I can have 3 crews. And, you start to grow your business. And I'll for the life of me say, this business is God's business. Heritage Painting is God's business. And, if he wants to tank it, he tanks it. If he wants to grow it, he grows it. The Bible talks about, he raises up kings for himself, right? And he'll bring them down. So the point is, if we have 2 crews, that's what he wants us to have. But as a visionary, you're always like, hey, we can do this, we can have 5 branches, we can, grow into other states, we can, whatever it is. And so, but you can't do that by yourself. You got to do that with a team. And so,
and how many crews do you guys have now?
Yeah, so seasonal. So we have 12 internal technicians, and then we're a hybrid. So we have some internal techs and then subcontractor teams. And so a crew could be one guy going, I kind of count a van going out that way.
Yeah.
And so in the heat of the summer, we will have anywhere from 15 to 20 crews going. So, that's a pretty decent sized operation. We have 4 salespeople apart from myself, but, and that makes me think, interrupt me anytime. But going back to what you're good at, my business partner, I was going to start to say in 2019, I got to the place where I realized Jason is the bottleneck to growth. And when you realize that you're the bottleneck, you got to, fix that. Or who's the bottleneck? And honestly, all of us can be a bottleneck. I've looked at my wife because she's our CFO, and I said, "You're a bottleneck."
Right.
That's not really too good for the marriage, but I've looked at my business partner now, and I've looked at other, like, hey, don't be a bottleneck. Let go of that, And I say all the time, you got to let go in order to grow. And as I kind of grew from 09 to 19, and then especially 19 till now, you move yourself from out of the painter into more of a sales role, business development role, project management role. And so I was wearing those hats. And then you start to hire a project manager, right?
Yep.
He's a better manager than me. I'm not, I don't like to manage. Matter of fact,
right.
I learned that.
Energy draining. Yep.
Yeah, it's
But for the other person that it should be doing it, they get excited by it. They're motivated. They can do it all day long. Yeah. So, one of the things that I think is very well, I have to say about myself, first of all. So I have the weirdest background. Or at least I used to think it was weird, and now it's like I feel like I'm in heaven. And that is, I growing up was told, because I liked Legos and Connects, that I was going to be an engineer. So it's like, oh, Chris is going to be an engineer. It was just like, as a 6-year-old, people were like, look at that little engineer. Like, he loves Legos,
Well,
and
good thing they didn't
so
give you they didn't buy you a McDonald's cape or something. You could have been like, oh, no, that's awful.
Exactly. Yeah. So we like I had that was just like, direct definition being projected onto me.
Yeah.
And the reality was that I did think like an engineer. I was very technical. I loved solving problems. Math was my favorite subject. So when time came to go to college, people were like, what are you going to study? And I was like, engineering. Like, I didn't even think about it. I was just like, of course, that's just what I would do. So I got my engineering degree, graduate from Carroll, and took my first engineering job in the real world. And I lasted 6 months before I just was like, I hate this. Like, I'm looking at that guy in the corner office overlooking the city, and he looks unhappy. And that's my future if I stay here for 30 years. Like,
yeah,
I'm out. So I quit my job, and I started, like, all I knew was that I was drawn to, leadership was always big to me. And I felt like the engineering world was way too introverted. And so, with no real plan, I'd never taken business classes of any kind. I had bought a drone, and this was back in like 2013.
a big deal.
And so they were just up and coming, not as common as they are now.
Yeah.
And I was like, maybe I could sell aerial photos. Like, that was as far as I thought. So I started that. That grew into a video production company with 6 employees. And then we kind of started doing websites and other marketing services. And that, at one point we had 8 employees, and we were all like millennials, just hustling and making no money because I didn't know how to charge what I should and all that stuff. And I ended up leaving that and taking a job we basically blew up the company and turned everyone into subcontractors so they could because we were all just creatives that were doing projects,
Yeah.
And then I took a full-time marketing director job at a painting company in Oregon. And then I was applying all of this marketing knowledge that I had from running a marketing company for 6 years, now focused into one business. And I was able to grow that business. We doubled in size in 3 years. And they were a good, healthy operation when I joined. And then after that, after 3 years of that, in the process of working there, I couldn't help myself because I was an engineer and I knew all this, like just coding and some other things.
Mm-hmm.
I was like trying to get better reporting for my marketing team.
Mm.
And so I was automating things and plugging things together. And then I'm sharing what I'm learning with other people. And as I keep sharing and telling, other painting companies and different groups that we're in, like, hey, check this out. We just automated this thing and now all of our leads are automatically coming in,
Mm.
or we don't have to send emails, or contracts are being generated automatically, all this stuff. People are like, can you just do that for me? And I was like, how it just watch, I'll make a video. It's not that hard. And it was one of the first times that I realized the stuff that I got, like I could do that type of stuff all day long.
Yeah.
And it was energizing. And it was like, I got to solve puzzles 24/7 and it was super fun. And it was not hard. So I was like, how could I, like, old Chris was like, how could I charge for this? Cause it's so easy.
Yeah.
It's so like anyone can do it.
Yeah.
I learned from watching YouTube videos. I don't see what the big deal is. And then people would get into it and they're like, it's not working. It's
Yeah.
not making sense. And that was the first time that I realized, like, oh my gosh, I have this engineering background with a ton of marketing knowledge, which then led me to running a painting, like growing and getting the lead gen for a growing painting company. And then I was like gifted the opportunity to be on their leadership team. So then I got really into the weeds on like the business ops of scaling this painting
Yeah.
company. And then it was like all these people were asking me. And so now what I do is I get to automate painting companies. And it's in a, like, when I left my marketing director job,
Yep.
I was able to like walk into 6 of the warmest leads you could ever imagine for starting a business, because I was literally friends with all of them from peer groups and whatnot and networking. And those are my first 6 clients, like within
Awesome.
2 months. And so that's what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years. And now
Yeah.
we've got 8 developers and we're doing crazy stuff that I could never have imagined on my own. But
Yeah.
that's like my who not how journey is
Yeah.
like, realize, like, I was trying to do all this stuff. And then as soon as you get a glimpse of what this zone of genius is,
Yep.
like, then it was just like, oh, I just need to do more of that, more of that. And
Yeah.
then even it's like gotten even more narrow for myself as you start realizing that even though that's like automation for painting is kind of a niche, but there's like 12 different who's just inside that box that
Yeah.
you could like have expertise in, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
I think
So
we're in the people business, and identifying people's strengths is such a big deal. And finding, I hired a friend recently, and that's always maybe sometimes challenging or difficult or, concerning. But I told this gentleman this morning, I said, man, you know, our friendship allows there to be a high level trust. And because I knew who you were before you came, and our friendship, you know, in regards to the who, he's a who that I trust his heart and his skill sets with these things, and being able to manage, because he manages our internal technicians and then the overall production painting of the painting. And so it's just so valuable having the right people in the right space. But it takes time to get to the place where you can identify that. Like, my wife is incredible at identifying, discerning something with one of our kids, and she'll say something to me and I'll be like, you're a genius. Like, I don't know how you saw that. Like, I don't see that.
never
And
would
then
have thought of it. Yeah.
and I'm just like, wow. And so I can be like a bull in a china shop sometimes with people, and I don't. That's awful, And so even that, even though I care so much,
Yeah.
it's like you have to, as you process working with people, it's a big deal.
Yeah. I would say one of the things that for the people that haven't listened, this is my 1 or 2 sentence definition of the Who Not How book when I'm telling someone they should read it. This is, so tell me if you have anything you would add to this for like the quick short synopsis of this book. But I would tell people that in a nutshell, we are all trained throughout all of school to think like, here's a problem, how do I solve it? Here's a problem, how do I solve it? Here's a problem, how do I solve it? That's literally like what school teaches you. Here's a math problem, here's a word problem, here's a story problem, here's like problem, problem, problem. And then I'm going to grade you on how well you can do all of these problems. and you just get so used to that's how you're supposed to think. And to me, the thing I loved about this book was almost like the freedom and the permission as a business owner to just, or to think, even if you're not a business owner, like if you're in a role, free yourself from thinking that when a problem arises that you are the one that's responsible to solve that. And what Dan Sullivan talks about is you should find the person who is going to be able to solve that problem the best and the fastest. And it's like, that's in a nutshell, is like change from how do I solve this problem to who should solve this problem for
Yes.
me,
Yes.
and delegate it.
Yes.
That's what Who Not How
Yeah.
is.
So lots of thoughts there. Wow. Let's talk about delegation in just a minute. But you sound a lot like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad,
The Rich
Rich
Dad
Dad,
Poor
Poor
Dad.
Dad, who's like, kill the system. The system's built to do this, and I'm, as an entrepreneur, I'm out, like, I'm live outside the box all the time.
Yeah.
And anytime, like, just so many things, as a rabbit trail. So that's good. So if you live outside the system and you're thinking people first, problems second, and help people. And I mean, I did a video the other day. It's like, my mission in the painting world is to help fix your problem. So if a person comes to me and they have a problem, then, and I help serve them the best I can, then that they're going to come back, right? So for instance, if you have a problem, like, who can you, do you know anybody that can fix my toilet? Well, I'm not a plumber, I'm a painter, but I got this issue. Here's the who, right? So helping people fix problems. But so in regards to delegation, there's so many ideas and thoughts to this. You don't dump, you delegate, right? And so you have to have people have grown with you, and you have to know that they can handle the problem, right? So we have an internal color consultant. Her name's Emily. She's been with us 3 years. She's incredible at what she does. But when she came to us, we interviewed her. She says, hey, I want to use my interior color design degree but I want to use it in the field. Like, and so we're like, okay, what does that mean? And like, we're asking her, so do you want to be a painter? So we put her in the field as a painter, and she did decent for what she did. Very detailed, very meticulous, and then there were some struggles, and we got her to a place where we found out her sweet spot. And it's just like, wow, it was such a relief, because she's an incredible person, and she serves our clients, and she's, because of her detail giftedness and her skills that she learned and has, because it was color, she processes our jobs. Once a salesperson sells it, they put it in the top, and she processes it all the way to then the ready stage. So she's helping that client select colors. So there's kind of an administrative role there between sold to project manager. And so, that's a huge win for us. And so identifying people's skill sets, and then saying, because you can hand somebody a job and you're like, you're not good at this. Like, why did I really messed up giving this to you?
Yeah. And then also know, like, it's just so they know also, it's like, we might not get it right on the first try, but the goal is we like you, you're trustworthy, you're hardworking. Either this task that we've given you is draining, which we don't want because it's going to burn you out, or it's just taking you long, or it's more cumbersome than it should be.
Yeah.
So let's find the thing that you can crush,
Yep.
and then find someone else to take that thing away.
Yep. And that, as we talked about earlier, as a small business owner, at times you don't have the space to have somebody for each of those things, and that's hard. So you find yourself sometimes continue to wear those hats. One of the things, and if I think about my sweet spot, there's a couple things that I love to do. And being a company the size that we are, I have the freedom to do a lot of business development and some sales. And so I've set some goals for myself. And if you're watching or listening to this, and you want to know my goals, personal goals, I'm not going to share them here, but I have some pretty stupid personal goals that I'll share with you, Chris, offline. But if you want to know, you can reach out to me. And you can help me stay accountable to that. But I have some 2025, some revenue goals that I want to hit that are like, to most salespeople would be like, that's ridiculous. And so I'm excited about it, because at the age of 53, I'm like, what drives you, and so what motivates you? And so I'm a very competitive person, and I love to compete, and I'm competing against me. That's what I'm competing against. And even yesterday, my wife says to me yesterday on the way, she says, I can tell that this goal has made you lighter. Like I got to bounce, and that's fun. Like if you grow and that's well. Are you familiar with Tommy Mello? You know Tommy Mello?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So he was even on Facebook the other day commenting about like, what do I do? Like, our company's not any close to where he's at, but I get it. Like, he has figured out all of the who's to do the house. He doesn't need to do anything.
Yeah.
And he's built the systems and the processes, which is part of building that whole thing of, okay, you're the who and here's the how. I've trained you, you're doing it, and then, staying back in touch with them. But he says on Facebook, he's like, I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life now. Right? Because I've given away all my hows. So what do you do with your life? And so I think he's figuring that out. I'm not worried about him. But I think it's good to check in on guys like that. If you have a connection that's like, hey, I don't know, what am I doing? And my dad at the age of 79, he's at the stage where he's like, I'm at the age of being forgotten. And he had a very public ministry as a pastor. And so, I'm a very public people know me in our community and other communities around here. And so, people are like, hey, you're everywhere and whatever. And so it's like, as you go through life and you give up all your things that you're doing to the who's, then it's like, okay, what is my purpose now? That's a challenge.
Yeah.
What is my purpose? Yeah. So I'm just,
and Dan Sullivan calls it your unique ability. It's what you're best at and what you love to do. And are you saying that, I guess part of me feels like first of all, I don't know if you would agree with this. I don't know if I don't think he talks about this, but I do think that your unique ability can evolve and does evolve as you grow.
Yes.
And as you continue to delegate, there's an opportunity for you to grow into a new level. But I do think that figuring out what that looks like or what skills are needed for that, and also making sure that you're still moving in the direction of the thing that gives you energy and that you love,
yes,
is hard.
Yeah. That is hard. And I think that is part of the wrestle for me, because I'm not a gifted integrator. I don't like to manage. But I'm fortunate enough to have some of those people in those spaces where I can do the things, find that energy in the space that I love. So ultimately business development and sales. And my big goal is in sales. And I have a number. I want to hit X sales. We have 4 salespeople, but I want to hit X sales, and it has to only be through self-generation. No marketing for me, for my skills. So that's what's kind of waking me up.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was going to say the other thing that sticks out to me with the a shift that I've made, I should say, is the idea of just coming from a place of abundance, which Dan Sullivan talks about. And it's like, when you're focusing on like, how do I solve this? I feel like a lot of times the reason people get trapped in the how is because there's a fear that, like,
scarcity.
Yeah, and I'm going to spend my money on delegating or hiring out this thing.
Yep.
And then, like, as if there's just a limited pot of money that you have.
Yeah.
But it's like, the goal is that you get it off your plate.
Yep.
And it's funny because I don't know if you've tasted this in like your personal life, for example, but we have, my wife has a list of things that she wants me to do, just handyman stuff, and this is a story from a year ago. But I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that. I can do that. But I'm busy automating painting companies because that's what I love to do, right?
Yeah.
Fixing the door hinge and how the door's kind of crooked is like, I mean, I can do that now or in 5 years. It doesn't really, like, it's fine.
Right.
It's just like a little off, or the gate doesn't latch correctly. There's a bunch of these, like, literally 5-minute tasks if I just said I was going to do it and go do it. But that's the thing, is that I'm like, oh, that's, I can't do this. So she ends up getting impatient and she finds some handyman online. He comes over and she just takes an hour and goes through her whole list. And he's like, gives us a price. And I'm like, that sounds like a freaking steal. I don't know why we didn't do this. Like, yeah, it was a lot of money on one hand of like, if I did it, I could save that.
Yep.
And there was that debate in my mind of like, maybe I should just say no and we do this ourselves.
Yeah.
But then there was the other like imagination of like, if I write this check, all 20 of these things are going to be done in the next 3 days.
Yep.
And my wife's happy, I'm happy, and I don't have to do it, and it's going to actually be done the right way because this guy loves doing this stuff and he does it all the time.
Yep.
Whereas like I would have tricked myself into thinking I could do this, mini construction project that, man, I might be exaggerating in construction, but
yeah.
Anyways, you write that check and now the honey-do list is gone.
Yeah.
And I, got to spend more time with my kids. I feel more energized. I go back and crush my job that I love doing. And it's like, that was the first like mini story of confronting it. And I don't think I would have written the check to that handyman had I not just read this book.
Yeah.
Because I was, I would have been in that scarcity mindset of like, I only have this much money. And if I pay this person, now I'm losing that money, as opposed to like, no, I'll just keep doing what I love doing.
Yep.
And focus on that.
And a lot of times I find that I discover this when I'm doing a very physical response or activity, right? So this really began to wake up for me years ago when I realized I'm not an electrician. I can paint. Then I realized I'm not, but I was trying to remodel. I was trying to do all these different things. I'm like, no, just hire that. You let go of that, let go. Like, and then, so it's easy. And then in 2018, we did a huge remodel on a house, old Victorian 1904 built house. And I'm sweeping. We have 6 kids, right? And it's a big house. So I'm sweeping basically a gutted house. And I'm thinking to myself, this could take forever. I finally figured out I'm not doing this. I'm hiring somebody to help do this. So we did, hired that. And sometimes it's easier to help somebody else do something, like for your wife to you. For me to my wife, I'm like, babe, first of all, you don't love whatever it may be, a certain activity. And one of the things that she let go of was cleaning the house. And she's actually likes to clean the house, but I'm like, why don't you let's hire somebody to come do this, and then you can focus on women's Bible study. I don't care, whatever you want to do, something that gives you energy.
Yeah.
And love it. And then I've tried to get her to let go of grocery shopping, but she's still wants to hold on to that one, I guess.
Yeah. Some of the questions I ask, well, is there any, before I have my standard 3 wrap-up questions, which are 3 book recommendations,
Yep.
movie suggestion, and how do you want people to get in touch with you? Before we go to those, is there any other key concept that has just jumped out or that you have adopted into your own life, whether that's business or personal, that's in line with this?
Yeah. So I always, the thing that started years and years ago when I was just mowing yards as a kid, and is my grandpa Peel said to me, Jason, you got to grow into business, don't go into business. And so that's what I did for years. It obviously rings, like it rhymes, and so I did that for years, But today, Heritage, there are things we do today that the 2009 version of Heritage would have been like, we're going into business, right? We're not growing into this. So fortunately, I mean, in the painting industry, you can buy a roller and a brush and you're growing in business, right? And so, but some of that growth really is critical because you have to wait. I mean, the discipline of waiting to be able to buy that truck because you need to do X, So I think growing into business is really critical. And part of that allows you personally to have space to grow as, internally, and in your own personal skills, whether that's in sales or whether that's in business, like just morphing. Like I'm going to share with you, I just got an incredible podcast, The Diary of a CEO. You've maybe seen their stuff. but it's incredible. And so that's a good one. But that would be one thing. I mean, there's a million, but that would be one thing I would say.
That's awesome.
In
So
regards
yeah,
to
let's
this, and I'll say this again, in regards to this topic, who not how, feel the burn. Like when you're running, I used to run cross country, and you can feel that burn inside you. Feel the burn in regards to letting go and grow. Let go of whatever it is, and trust your. At first it was trust the painters to do a good job. Trust the project manager to do his job. Trust your people, let go and grow, and that's what happens is you will grow. And I call it like it's like pulling teeth sometimes with yourself. It's difficult. So, yep.
Yeah, absolutely. What are the 3 book recommendations that you have?
Yeah, I didn't know this question was coming, but fortunately I pulled them. The first one is Dream Manager. And I love this one. At the end of the day, it's helping your people live out their dreams. And so I'm the dream manager. I'm doing the how on this. I'm the who doing the how on this. So I just meet with our people. It's kind of an HR role, so you could give this to an HR person. But like sitting down with your people quarterly and just listening to their dreams, I love it because while we're working, we're thinking about our dreams. Yep. And at the end of the day, the company is here to help the person grow and accomplish their dreams. The people are not here to help the company accomplish theirs. So if you you're reversing the script in what has been traditional. The second one is giftology. Love this one from a business development standpoint. The other day I walked in and it was like, oh, here comes Santa Claus. And this was after Christmas. They're like, oh, here comes Jason. He's Santa Claus. He always got something. I mean, I had chip clips and I had free home show tickets to give to people, right? So you're top of mind. I'm going to share this podcast, giving a piece of content to somebody that says, hey, I was thinking about you. You should listen to that. That's a gift. That's helping them level up. So giftology is great. It helps you kind of think through those. And the last one I have over here is the ideal team player, which I love. Finding people, and this is again around the who, not how. Finding people who are humble, hungry, and smart is the key. I just ruined all the movies that you're going to watch, all the books you're going to read.
No, those are all the first one I have read. The second, you're the second person to tell me to read it, and I haven't. The ideal team player sounds interesting.
Oh, incredible!
Humble, hungry, and
smart. So
smart.
We have these out on our wall out front. When people walk in our office, they see them humble, hungry, and smart, and they're in our core values as a company. So obviously, humility is understood at some level, and we symbolize it with a kind of foot washing basin and a towel. And then, so just serving people, servant leadership. That's where it starts, and that's where I want to start. Hungry people that are just getting after it, wanting to get after it every day, and then smart is not always IQ, but it's also PQ or EQ. Emotional intelligence. So having a high emotional intelligence (EQ) is critical, and so you want people that are both of those. And I would add into their PQ, positive quotient, right? And so you want to have people that are smart in different formats.
Totally. And what's a movie suggestion?
Well, I just recently watched The Forge. That's a great one. Just came out. It's a based on Christian movie on discipleship, and that's a really good one. And then my all-time great, because I love basketball, is Hoosiers. And then another great one is that I've watched more times than I can count is Ford versus Ferrari. It's a super long movie.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
It's a great one, and I don't know why the driver. That's a great thought to who, not how. It's like you got this driver and this mechanic, and they just come together and they just figure it out how to win that race. So it's a great one.
That is a great one for the who, not how analogies played out in history. That's awesome.
It's funny because
and then
I watched that movie. I had our entire team to come together like at the end of the year, like 3 or 4 years ago, and we played that movie. And I'm like, at that point, I realized this movie's really long, and these people aren't completely getting it.
They're not as into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, Well,
Yeah. And if someone wants to get in touch, what's your preferred method of contact? How do you like people to get in touch with you?
yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. Email is jason at heritage-custompainting.com. And so, and if you do want to reach out, I'll give you my cell phone number at some point.
Awesome. Well, Jason, this was super fun. I appreciate you taking the time I always love meeting like-minded individuals, and hopefully the people listening got something out of it as well. And for those of you listening, we will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much, Jason.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much for listening. My name is Chris Kiefer, and my mission is to champion the relentless pursuit of purpose. And what that means to me is to be an example, a champion, someone that is in the trenches, working and showing and winning and trying and failing in how to pursue a deeper and more meaningful life with the people that I love, with my kids, with my friends, with our family, and also just be a champion and example of entrepreneurship and following my passion and doing what I believe I'm called to on this earth. And so if that inspires you in some way, please share this episode. If you want, like, subscribe, share, whatever, do all the stuff. It means the world to me to get this message and get these guests that I have out there. And if you're interested in any of the book recommendations or looking up other episodes, the movie list, you can visit my website, chriskiefer.com, for all the details on the show, and also check out the Boolean review software, as well as the Boolean automation consulting company that I own for home service businesses. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.